What's up, everyone? Welcome to 49ers Coast to Coast. We're your hosts, Grant Cohn, Jason Aponte. He's got a really nice hat on. How you doing?
Is it like this or?
Yeah, so we thought we'd be on the show here talking about practice, but instead, Kyle canceled that, so we're going to be talking about Kyle today. Kyle, have it your way. I mean, this is what you wanted. Anyway, I like the way you lean back on that one. That's the Kyle pose from now on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the pose of I'm tired of what you're asking me. I'm also tired of you questioning me in any way, and I'm just tired of all these questions about injuries, especially because I can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, all that. So that's the Kyle pose from now on. Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan today. You guys are free to ask as many questions as you want. We got about 5 topics, so please do ask questions. We'll take them seriously. I put this out just to be a jerk today on Twitter. To be fair, Rich Madrid egged me on.
He's done it before, though. He's done it before, and that's why he's very well versed in this discussion. He just wanted to see someone else go through the ringer in those comments.
Jesse Naylor started throwing some jabs at Kyle Shanahan on Twitter, comparing him to Chip Kelly, which we're going to do in a minute. But then Rich comes in and is like, hey, I dare you to say that Sean McVay is better. And I was like, oh, I'll do that right now. So I channeled Ice-T and tweeted an ice cold fact that Sean McVay has been a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan, which means not necessarily is, but has been. Is that fair? Do you agree?
There's an argument to be made. If you look at strictly win-loss record, without context, let's just say an alien came down and you said, hey, who are the 2 brightest coaches in that division? Show them the win-loss record, and if they don't know anything about football, they'd say, hey, look at Sean McVay. It's obviously him. They've had no losing seasons. They've been to the playoffs every single year, and they continue to be aggressive offseason after offseason. Say what you want about what's going to happen down the line with those picks. This team clearly wants to put itself in the dance with a shot to do it. You can only win it if you're in it. Yeah. And for 49er fans, this is the part where I'm going to tell you to chill out. Yes, they continue to beat the Rams. The Rams are in the playoffs every year. Yeah. You wouldn't want that as a 49er fan? You don't want to be perennially in the playoffs?
No, it's better to just beat the Rams.
I don't understand that. I would give up those 2 wins to the Rams to make the playoffs every single year with a shot of making a run at the Super Bowl. Say what you want, whether if the Rams were equipped to do that. They're in the dance, and that's all you really need to ask. Ask Nick Foles, ask the Philadelphia Eagles what it means to just be in the dance and see what happens.
That's right.
You don't get anything by being home. So there, I'll take that. Or, again, only chance, but I get to also be objective. We have to line this right down the middle. At the same time, Grant, Kyle took over a worse roster. We know that. That's objectively a worse roster.
No doubt. And it was scorched earth, man. It was scorched earth.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, if you want to make points about how Kyle filled out the roster afterwards, go for it. Because there's plenty to be picked apart. Brian Hoyer starts, didn't evaluate Watson, Mahomes. Cool. Those are all things that deserve to be discussed.
He had a blank canvas, and Sean McVay really didn't.
Exactly.
Right.
So the situation that I'm going to compare this to with Sean McVay, Jeff Fisher, Mr. 8-8, Mr. 7-9, perennial 7-9, 8-8. Basically, Sean McVay takes over that roster with just additions to whatever that draft class was. That feels a lot like when Mike Singletary left and Jim Harbaugh took over, and Jim Harbaugh shaped a roster that was essentially the same, and all they did was add, Upati and those guys from the draft, but they went 13-3 the next year. At what point is it, okay, this person steered a ship that was going the right way? Look, he got the most. He squoze every little bit out of Jared Goff. Every single bit he could. A number 1 pick, and this man had to hold his hand the entire time. And they made the Super Bowl. Say what you want about them scoring 3 points. That's fine. The Patriots ran a defense that is now known as the way that you stop Shanahan-like offenses in that Super Bowl. So, yes, if you want to kill McVay for not adjusting, cool. Yeah. You're fine with that as well.
Yep. I would agree.
But at the same time, those situations kind of feel parallel, and they kind of feel the same, where one roster was the same, but one guy was 7-9, the next guy takes over, all of a sudden they're successful. That's the part where McVay should get a lot of credit. With Kyle, roster was terrible. Say what you want, he missed out on the quarterback. Injuries, which is pretty much really what we, all the context that's given to Kyle Shanahan and why things haven't progressed past the Super Bowl. Every year you can make the argument for something else being in the way of that.
Yep.
In 2019, people want to point to 15, 16 people on IR. Cool. None of them were named Nick Bosa or Jimmy Garoppolo or anybody of the highest caliber on the team.
Mm-hmm.
When all of those guys go down last year, then there's really a lot more that goes into it. So, yes, there's a discussion to be had about Sean McVay. Do I agree with it? No. Should fans also be pondering this right now and talking about it? Yes, absolutely. And should fans be concerned or worried? They have a right to be, even if I'm not. That's the best way I could put it.
I feel like a football purist can appreciate Kyle Shanahan, like an Only Shans member, someone who has access to the All-22 and can really compare the differences in the offense. I think most people with that level of knowledge and information in front of them would appreciate Kyle and say he's a better coordinator than McVay. His offense is better than McVay. There's more going on there. I think Kyle probably is a better coordinator than McVay, but I think where McVay has to get the edge is like, yeah, he inherited a better team, but now they're both going into year 5, and you can both say that they're coaching the team that they set up. And for whatever reason, Sean McVay doesn't have an injury issue. He's consistent. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. They've made it the same distance, but Sean McVay has a level of consistency that I think speaks to him as a leader and being a natural head coach. Kyle, I feel like the question with him is, man, you're so smart. You're such a good coordinator. You're such like, but are you that head coach? Because the record says you're not, and you can't say that with McVay. So that's the only thing I feel like McVay is surprisingly good of a leader, considering he's 35 and he's kind of small and he doesn't necessarily look like he would be, but he has a natural gift at that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my daughter. She's not feeling too well in the other room.
Okay,
but
sure.
No, you're absolutely right. So I think that when you talk about both, again, he jumped into a much better roster, for sure. A much better roster, I believe.
Yes.
But at the same time, you know, those questions about Kyle being a better coach and stuff, those are things that should be explored, I believe. Those things that should be discussed. I don't believe that he's a better coach, because when you hear this 49er team talk about him and they talk about his honesty and such, seems like he's got the attention in the room. You know, you talked to Jaquiski Tartt on my show, and he said he walks in the room, everybody, he just command the attention. You know, there's a lot of guys who bark loud, say a lot of those coach speak things. Kyle, when he walks in, it's the presence. And I think that a lot of players respect his football mind. You know, sometimes, you know, when I spoke to Tartt, he tells me he talked about things that I never even thought of when it comes to, you know, offense and defense. So, yeah, I mean, there are these questions, and 49er fans should at least have this discussion. I don't agree with it, but I think that it's a fair discussion at this point. Why not?
I mean, we could be talking about practice, but they canceled it. So we're talking about Kyle. We have a bunch of donations. Chase says, I'm sure y'all are going to talk about this, but this is a joke. I understand how injuries are a huge deal, but canceling practice?
Well, can I say this?
Who does that? All right, we'll talk about it right now then. Yeah, go ahead.
So with the CBA, the new CBA, I believe that there is, with the new way that they're running things in the phase 1 process of it during COVID, is that you're only allowed 10 organized team activity sessions. And the Niners were at 9 right before he canceled that one. So he could only have one more, if I'm not mistaken. Is it reactionary? For sure. It had to do with the injuries. But
minicamp isn't OTAs.
Right. So I'm not sure what it is. I believe there is something about OTAs and because they only had one more session, I believe. I think they were only allowed under the OTA new rules, only 10. So if it's 9 and 10, then, you know, you look at it in that perspective, it's not that bad. When you look at it after the injuries, that's when it looks a little reactionary. So there's 2 ways to look at it. You can look at it and say, hey, they exhausted as many times as they could, which is under allowed by the CBA. Or Kyle Shanahan said, that's enough. We're done with this, because they lost 2 players in a matter of 3 plays and 3 reps. So it's a nice little dichotomy to think about. But at the same time, I'm not completely against it. I jokingly tweeted out a picture of him screaming at NASCAR about no more practices. Clearly, they felt the same exact way afterwards, you know, and it worked. Finally, so Kyle Shanahan definitely looks at my Twitter as well. As soon as I said that, an hour later, he was like, yeah, cancel, practice is canceled. But yes, it is a good discussion, honestly, at this point. And it's one that deserves to be discussed at this point. It's not something that you can just brush away at this point. It's clear that this team, it's on their mind. It was on their mind in the draft. That's why they drafted how they did. They drafted depth piece after depth piece after depth piece all the way through. So Yeah, it's been on the mind of this team. It's clearly on the mind of the organization. They fired the entire strength and conditioning staff. If it wasn't a concern, they wouldn't have gone to those lengths. They wouldn't have done those things.
Do you like the decision to cancel minicamp?
Yes, I do. Just get those guys out of there at this point. Just get them out of there at this point. There's only one more session. What more could you learn in one session? Probably hurts Trey Lance a little bit more. That's why I think they talked about rookies hanging around the building a little bit longer so Trey can get in the film room, take a look, things like that. Those guys, the vets, they don't need that extra day or anything like that. So when he talked about who was going to stick around the building, it was rookies. And that makes sense because those are the guys who really, really need those reps. So honestly, at this point, just make it happen, get rid of it, and then get back over there when you're allowed to. Another thing is I believe before OTAs even happened, they had like 4 people go down before OTAs happened. It was Richie James broke his wrist, Deebo Samuel broke his foot, right? All in Nashville in the same time. Mm-hmm. So it's weird. It is. It just so here's the thing. Something needs to change, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what needs to change. I don't know anything about strength and conditioning. I don't know anything about how coaches should be running their practices. So I will not speculate on those things, but I will say this. Something needs to change. Something is amiss. And it was happening before Shanahan got there. So let's also point that out. The 49ers have been at the top of the injury list for a long time, but something needs to change. Something needs to happen.
I don't like this, man. It rubs me the wrong way. I'm glad to hear that Trey Lance is staying because one of my big things is like, he needs reps, not on the field. But here's my thing. I feel like what I said about this, what I said about Kyle heading into spring practices, he may disagree, but I don't think it's really imperative to do a lot of competition in spring. You're not really in football shape. Nothing any player does is going to help him make the team in June. I think it's dangerous. And what you could do, I mean, what they used to do back in the day in the NFL, you'd have double days in August, but in the spring it was walkthroughs and teaching. I mean, it's a great opportunity to watch film. It's a great opportunity to be in the weight room together, supervise. It's a great opportunity to go to meetings, individual and group. It's a great opportunity for DeMeco Ryans to teach all the little differences he wants to teach in his defense and install. And I feel like the thing with Kyle, I don't know, but I'm thinking like, man, are you only caught up in the physical aspect of the game? If there's no competition, do you lose interest? I mean, are you a teacher? Because this is a great opportunity to teach. I think the Houston Texans canceled minicamp as well. But if other teams are canceling minicamp as a coach, I would just look at that as an opportunity to gain an advantage. I'm going to keep my guys. We don't have to compete. We can do straight up walkthrough, meetings, and weightlifting. But it didn't seem like having people lift on their own last year was a good thing. It seemed like I would want them here. They should want to be here. And it's like, hey, we're just going to stop the full speed stuff on the field. What's wrong with that? I mean, look, last thing I want to say. Bill Walsh is legendary, not just because of his play designs and his offense, but because of his teaching. I mean, every install and meeting he ever did with the Niners is videotaped and in a vault because he's a legendary teacher. Kyle, don't pass up an opportunity to show that part of your skill set, Kyle.
I mean, I think you bring up all good points. It's just, again, I don't know what can be done. I really don't. And I'm not going to speculate. I'm not here to tell you, hey, they need to stop lifting weights. But here's the part that I'll ask you. And this is the part that I think bears at least a little bit of research because I don't think I have the time to do it, but maybe someone out there can.
Yeah.
How did Mike Shanahan run his practices? Was he ever at the top of the list of torn ligaments, ACLs, anything like that? Because pretty much a lot of what Kyle's learned is from Mike, right?
I was on a live stream a few days ago and a guy named The Coach wrote in and said that when Mike was in Washington, he had a lot of the same complaints from vets about practices and injuries. So I'll have to look into that. That's a really good question. We got more donations. I don't want to miss them. Be humble. We just had Jim Tomsula and Chip Kelly. Well, that brings me to my next question. The similarities and differences between Shanahan and Chip Kelly. Now, this may seem like a low blow, but I just want to remind you that Chip Kelly coached for 4 years in the NFL. He was 28 and 35. Kyle Shanahan has coached for 4 years in the NFL. He's 29 and 35. So it's a fair discussion. Also, I know it seems like a long time ago, but there was a period where everyone in the world thought he was a genius and at the forefront of offensive evolution. And then he lost that reputation in about a year. So I'm not saying Kyle's going to lose it, but I think there are some parallels. There's obvious differences. Let's start with the similarities and then get to the differences. In your mind, are there similarities beyond the record?
The record is really what I was going to say more than anything. I wanted to say that here's the thing that you have to remember about Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly comes from Oregon, and he implements this new way that he wants his players to train. When you go to your cafeteria, you have to have fruit. You can't have anything else. You can't have anything else but fruit. And he ran them ragged while saying you need to cut back on this, this, and this. So when Chip Kelly joined the league, he was trying to change and do things that people had never seen, veterans had never seen, the league had never seen, on top of an offense that he dropped off that was never seen before. Okay. So those are the things that you really need to remember with Chip. So when you talk about a year going away, it's because once there's tape, once you figure out what it is they're trying to do, remember, he basically wanted those guys to puke on the field. Get up on the line, run, get up on the line, run every single play, get back to the line, go, and wear out the defense. But what the problem is when you're going 3 and out, you're wearing out no one.
You're wearing out yourself.
You're wearing out no one.
Your own defense.
So in the beginning, that first year took the league by storm. Not to mention the fact that he had an amazing cast of characters. LaShawn McCoy, Michael Vick, guys who could really play at that speed because they were faster than everybody at that point. But once that gets figured out, that's when it goes away. Kyle Shanahan still hasn't been figured out. And Kyle Shanahan is the blueprint for 10 to 12 offenses right now. Even if, like, let's just say in a world Kyle Shanahan flames out as a head coach, never gets it done the way that we think he does, his offense is here to stay. He'll
always have a job as at least a high-paid coordinator, whereas Chip Kelly had to run back to college.
It's over. He got figured out really quick because it was much more gimmicky, and guys didn't buy into it. So here's the difference between them. Guys didn't buy into
Kyle.
Exactly. People buy into Kyle. People never bought into the Chip Kelly style, especially when you're talking about grown men. You're a guy from college, and you come in and you're telling grown men who have been veterans in this league for 8-10 years, all right, I need you to stop doing this. I need you to pick up that banana, pick up that apple, pick up that orange, and go. We're going to run 2 a day. Those guys are like, what? Who are you? Dude?
Who are you? I've never heard of you, man. Sorry, you said you had success where? At Oregon? No, that doesn't matter. Doesn't care. I don't care.
Those are the differences between no matter what. You want to say the record's similar? They are.
He definitely still has a better NFL offense than Chip Kelly. There's no question.
And the players buy in.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. And there's something just straight up weird about Chip Kelly that isn't weird about Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan seems normal enough. Chip Kelly's like, man, who are you, man? You're something about him. But the similarity I want to say. I want to linger on the similarities a little bit because I always gave Kyle the benefit of the doubt. I like covering Kyle, but the way he acted yesterday, the more I think about it, was straight up Chip, man. Chip was very much like, I've lost 10 games in a row. What are you going to do about it, man? It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's Trent Baalke's fault. It's whoever's fault. I don't have to say it, but it's implied it's not my fault. And I'm not going to trip. I'm having a great time. I'm getting paid. If they want to scapegoat me, I'm paid for life. I just felt like there was a whole attitude with Chip, like, I don't freaking care. What are you gonna do about it? And I've never felt that from Kyle. I think he does care. But the thing yesterday was like, hey man, it's not my fault. It's injuries. It's football. It's like, that's what Chip would say. That's exactly what Chip would say. So I didn't like that.
Here's the thing. That's false confidence from Chip Kelly. Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere. If you ask me, I think he understands. He knows that if anybody's ready to go from this regime, it's not him. Even if it's about injuries, it won't be him. It will not be Kyle. That's the thing. So I think that's why I agree with you. He almost comes off as like, what am I going to do? Tavarius Moore got injured on air. What does that mean?
And the thing I think with Chip Kelly is ultimately what ran him out of the league is so not a leader of men. So not a leader of men. I mean,
they didn't buy into him.
No, there's something off with him, man. He alienated all the black players on the Eagles. I mean, that's documented. And then he comes over here. He's just weird. He doesn't relate. Kyle does, but this attitude like that he kind of takes the fans for granted. Like his attitude before leave me alone with the quarterback stuff. Leave me alone dude, don't do that, man. You should be like, come, let's talk. I'm Kyle Shanahan. I'd love your input. And trust me, I like you. You should like me. I don't understand why he's doing this.
Kyle's a smart guy. Kyle's a smart guy. He understands the perception around him. That's never going to leave at any point because like I said, every single year you can point to something else for the reason that the 49ers weren't successful. And it's most of the time it's injuries. That first year, it's like, hey, Brian Hoyer was your quarterback. You were just trying to figure stuff out. And it's an interesting thing as well. How much more leash or how less of leash would he have if that even makes sense? How tight would his rope have gotten if they never make the Super Bowl in 2019?
I don't know. That's a great question. And also another question. Remember, the other thing, the other similarity, Niner fans love Chip Kelly. They gave him all the excuses. They felt, you may not remember, but a lot of Niner fans
don't remember. Yeah.
wait a second, Trent Baalke is the one at fault here. That's the guy who was getting the banner flown around. Fire Trent Baalke. It's not. Let's give Chip Kelly a shot with his own general manager. There were a lot of people that felt Baalke should take the fall, and that if they had given Chip Kelly another year, who knows? Maybe he would have taken Deshaun Watson. I mean, can you really? I don't see him passing on Deshaun. I'm not saying that they should have kept Chip Kelly.
Well, I'm just remember, Chip wanted Dak.
That's what he said. That's what he said. We got to move on. Gabby Moore says Tom Pelissero just tweeted that the reason the Niners canceled OTAs has nothing to do with injuries. It was because they broke some rules.
I told you the CBA is so strict right now that there's only a certain amount of sessions that you can actually run. I don't know if they went over
broke rules, so they can't have mandatory minicamp.
Well, I think that it's the amount of sessions.
Then why did they break the rules?
I mean, we were clowning the Tennessee Titans last year for breaking COVID protocols and doing whatever the hell they wanted, which, I mean, obviously this is not the same thing as well, but you can't break rules. That's the thing, is that 10 session thing was serious. That's like a hard stop that they had to stop at 10. So that's, I don't know how much that is or that has to do with it, but yes, the injuries probably has something to do with it. But again, because of the way the CBA and because of what's going on even still with COVID, even if we're getting over it at this point and things are starting to open back up, phase 1 is still very strict with the idea of you have 10 sessions. That's it, 10. Now, if they had a session that was off the books, maybe nobody knew, maybe the NFL found out, that's something completely different, but that'll be a whole other discussion until we get those details.
Maybe bowling night counted.
That's team building, though.
Maybe bowling night counted. Maybe that's physical activity. Maybe someone pulled their arm, pulled their hamstring. Bowling uses some strange muscles. Hey, I'm going from there to Rocky Mountain Razorback. If I miss some, it's because I couldn't go up any higher. So just post it again. Don't donate again. I'll find it. I promise. The Rocky Mountain Razorback says, love the show, dude. You've really grown on me. You make a Bay Area native proud. Hey, respect. Thank you very much. That was very nice. Let me get more before they disappear. StreamYard should do better at this, man. They just disappear.
No, it's because you have so many comments. I don't have that issue on my channel. It's because we're not the highest subscribed channel in the Bay Area sports.
Makes you nauseous, right? I just can't stop tooting my own horn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The next interview, Grant talking about his life. What a success, Grant. I'm sorry. It's disgusting. I'll stop. Sean Shepard says we should have known by the name Chip. Kyle's been to 2 Super Bowls. Kelly barely sniffed the playoffs. Keep it coming, guys. Yeah, that's another difference. That is another difference.
And Kyle would have been responsible for knocking off the Patriots it's so funny. Dan Quinn was the head coach, and everybody would have heaped all the praise on Kyle if they continued to hold that one down. Yeah, and
they might have fired Dan Quinn if he won that. Just giving it to Kyle. Sorry, Dan.
Well, remember he signed with the Niners right before the Super Bowl, and it was done. But if I'm the Falcons, I say, look, we'll give you some more. We'll get this guy out of here just because of the way that offense was humming. So. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. Not asking to be snarky, just asking who else runs. Okay. Atlanta now? The Jets. Atlanta, the Jets. Minnesota, because Kubiak is an offshoot of Shanahan.
Although it's fair, Shanahan cut his teeth under Kubiak, so they run the same offense. Yeah.
So there you go. So similar offense in that way. You're absolutely right about that. The Titans are going to run an offshoot of that, I believe. The Rams lost one of their play callers to Seattle. Yes,
Seahawks.
Seattle now. So it's spreading across the league. It is. It's spreading across the league as fast as you can. Remember, this is a copycat league. People try to copycat, pistol, wildcat, all those things. Now that you've seen sustained success with Shanahan's offense, because regardless of win-loss record, that offense still hums. Yep. It still scores points, and they still move the ball. So now it's spreading its way to
the ball because they can create explosive plays with play action and their outside zone running game. It's an explosive offense. Absolutely. The points kind of depends on which quarterback you got. Kyle says, love you, Grant, but I wish your dad was here to answer this question.
Well, the thing is he's had experience with Bill Walsh. That makes sense. True. And you know me, I'm probably going to give the most diplomatic answer possible. Your father's just going to give it to everybody real.
Yeah. Well, I think what he would say is, look at Bill's track record. He was not a throw him in the deep end and let him sink or swim kind of guy. He was big into teaching and setting them up for success. He would sit them, and then he would insert them in the red zone. He'd insert them for specific things that he felt he'd do well with, build their confidence, and then insert them at the right time. I mean, he had Steve Young he never made Steve Young the starter. Seifert did
4 years.
Yeah, he never made Steve Young the starter, and he made Joe wait until his 3rd year. So I think that's pretty much how he would do it. Bill is the ultimate teacher of all time. He wasn't just a great coach; he was a teacher. So that would have been his project. That would have been his project. He would have been great at it. I mean, God, if only Trey Lance had him or Rosen. I don't think he would have been into Rosen though. He always wanted athletic quarterbacks. Walsh.
And I think Rosen's attitude would have probably put him off.
Yeah,
he would have just said, I don't like this guy taking pictures in hot tubs. The hell is that about?
Yeah. Chase says the Niners were fined by the NFL for violating NFL offseason workout rules during rookie minicamp. What's that about? I don't know.
I don't know. Give me a chance to look it up and give me a chance to read on something. See, there you go. So, look, the injuries have something to do with it, but like I was telling you, there is a hard limit, and the NFL is looking at that. Think about how they looked at that Tennessee situation, and I still feel like they let them off easy. They let them off real easy because they had to cancel games and move things around for the Bills. So I think the NFL is, I don't know. You know what? I'm not even going to speculate. I need to read on these details, and I'm not going to try to act like I even know what the hell's going on right now.
Well, it's not a good thing that they broke a rule if that's the case. I mean,
no.
Come on, Kyle. Like,
they'll be fine.
Honestly, what I keep talking about with Kyle is like head coaching 101 stuff, practice scheduling. You're so good at the advanced stuff. So good. Practice scheduling? You got fined? Now, I know Mike Vrabel did too, and he's a really good head coach, but dude, there's such... Anyway, I'm done. Okay, hold on. I think there's a few more that I missed. Let me just make sure. Hold on. You guys are bringing the heat today. The heat.
I got to check this out. Let me take a look real quick.
Yeah, what's going on?
The NFL docked the 49ers the last week of their rookie development program for a violation of off-season workout rules. The infraction took place during rookie minicamp.
Oh, but hold on. Say it again. Say it. Read it again.
Oh, give me a sec. Let me pull it back up. The NFL docked the 49ers the last week of their rookie development program for a violation of off-season work.
What's a rookie development program? Mandatory minicamp's the whole team.
I don't know. And I think that was rookie minicamp.
Yeah. I don't rookie development is not mandatory minicamp. I have questions. I'm sure they're going to bring Kyle Shanahan out again today, right? So I'm sure they're going to do that because he had so much fun yesterday. Part 2, baby.
Had so much fun.
Justin says, how many running back injuries will it take before Frank Gore gets the call? 7.
Look, 49er fans. Obviously, my opinion doesn't count because I'm from New Jersey and I don't know the vibes in California. I'm not from the Bay and I don't get all that stuff. Please stop with the Frank Gore stuff. You know who's available to be picked up right now, who is much younger, probably can contribute a lot better? Duke Johnson's available. Yep. Duke Johnson's out there as a free agent at 26 years old. Yep. But you want to bring back Frank Gore because he used to be a 49er. Yep. It would take every single running back on this roster to get hurt before I would even consider that. I'm sorry, guys. I love Frank Gore. When I want him to sign again, I want him to sign a one-day contract for him to go in as a Niner, put him in the ring immediately, go for it. I understand you want him to teach some people some things. You got to stop being sentimental at this point. Just stop. There's plenty of people out there that are running backs who have been successful in this league that probably have a lot more in the tank at this point than Frank the Tank. I love Frank Gore. Please don't kill me. I'm watching if you're watching. But I kind of want that one to go away a little bit.
I have a prediction.
Go.
He's done.
I don't think he's done. Someone will sign him. Someone will sign him once an injury happens. Look, the 49ers they drafted 2 running backs. They had 4 other ones. Now that 2 of them are hurt, okay, now it starts to get a little hairy, but it's going to take a lot, honestly, for the 49ers to do it. I can see another team doing it. Carlos Hyde continues to get work.
Well, Carlos Hyde isn't 38 years old. Hold on. Let me just...
He runs like it.
Yeah, he always has. So Frank Gore, he was on the Jets last year. He was in Buffalo for a year, and before then he was in Miami. Yeah, I guess. I mean...
Someone will.
Some teams.
Someone will.
Someone could.
Someone
I felt like Adam Gase was kind of keeping him in the league, but there have been other coaches that have been in there.
Adam Gase loved that fact that I could practice Frank Gore every single day. He'll have no issue. He's just going to keep his mouth shut and go. So and he trusts his guys very much so. Just like Kyle almost in that way, where Tom Compton's still on the roster, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. God.
True. No, you always have your guys. That's the truth. Bubba says Kyle is so overrated. His backers have excuses for reasons why he loses. There is a reason why he lost 2 Super Bowls because he didn't run the ball. Yeah, this is the thing about Kyle. The fact that he could lose 2 Super Bowls by 41 is very impressive in a lot of ways. You made it there by 41. That's amazing. You lost them both with leads in the 4th quarter. That's amazing. Most people wouldn't even get to 1. Wouldn't be lucky enough to lose 1. So he's a very interesting person. His resume is very, very interesting. He's a Rorschach test.
The first Super Bowl, I feel like he kind of skirts some of the criticism because he wasn't the head coach.
Not the head coach. Not the head coach. Nope.
Second one, he's skirting it because everybody largely blames Jimmy Garoppolo.
But in retrospect,
he didn't help.
That'll always be a conversation.
Because, he didn't help after the press conference either. That's the thing about it. He didn't help. It wasn't like, hey, I could have done something better. I could have done something different. It's like, hey,
he said the plays were there. The plays were there. And so there's two schools of thought. There's the plays were there. Kyle's right. And there was, why are you throwing the freaking ball? You're a run first team. That's how you got to the Super Bowl in the first place. You just went out of character. You should have ran the ball. And I think there's an argument to be made on both sides. You can really do a very good job arguing either one. And as time goes on, that narrative will always be reassessed. When you watch Jimmy wherever he goes, when you watch Kyle's future, it'll be like, well, let's go back and reassess that. Super Bowl, it's always going to follow him around.
I have a theory.
Tell me.
The first Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan was trying to prove a point against Bill Belichick. I am not going away from my script. I have scripted this entire game, and I am not going to change up anything because he wanted to prove a point. At 28-3, he didn't want to run the clock out. He wanted to score more points, run it up on Bill, and he would have gotten all the credit.
He wanted to hang 40 on Bill. He would
have got all credit, too. They wouldn't have said, look what Dan Quinn did with this team. They would have said, look what Kyle Shanahan did with this team.
Hang 40 on him. Yep.
He wanted to put 40 on
at least 30. Yeah.
Easily.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm with you.
That one. The second one, again, it's thrown at the feet of Jimmy Garoppolo. Whether you guys want to agree with that or not, it's still largely thrown at the feet of him. Not that I'm going to throw it at the feet of him, but that's how the large assumption, the large narrative around that game is going to be.
He created it. He created that narrative.
You know why?
Well, that's okay. Why?
You know how he did that?
How?
Divisional game, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Championship game, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Oh, look, I let Jimmy Garoppolo throw in the Super Bowl. Look what happened.
Look what happened. And to which I would say, why'd you let him throw in the Super Bowl? I'm with you. You made the right choice in the first two games. Everything you think about Jimmy is correct. I think I even have a lower opinion of him than you do. Take the game out of his freaking hands. Take it out of his hands. But no, you didn't. And he'd say, well, I had to. The plays were there. It's like, blah, 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 whatever, man. Whatever, man.
But if you don't trust the quarterback, and if the plays were there and that's all you're going to say at the end of the day, to me, that's you not defending your quarterback because there were throws. If he hits Kittle on that one throw and Kittle's able to go for 40 yards, game's over.
You're talking about the one where he checks down to Tevin Coleman on third? Yeah.
Game's over.
They got to share it. It's 50-50, but
there's another one where he checks out of the call to a run call for what? The throw was there. So he
did.
I'm done debating the Super Bowl, but that's how he's viewed for both of those Super Bowls, Grant. You know it.
Yeah. The coach, what's up, coach, says, what's popping, my Grant? Hardest working man in the business. I keep 18-hour days and it takes one to know one. Hey, respect. That's a lot. You keep wild hours. You were with me at 5 a.m. Yeah, I wake up every morning between 5 and 5:30 and get cracking. But I go back to sleep. I usually go to sleep from 6 to 7:30. So
you know how I know that's true?
How?
Because I'm up on the East Coast with my daughter at 8:30 and you're tweeting. And I'm just like, what is this?
What is he doing?
What is
Stop. Yeah. I got to remember sometimes to not tweet at 5 a.m. It's like, man, I have no life and I'm broadcasting that. It's not that cool. All right. Here's a question. Do you think the 49ers will solve their injury problem this year?
If I could be the beacon of positivity, I will.
Please do. Okay, please do.
Yes.
Why?
It has to. Mathematically, this can't happen. Mathematically, this cannot happen. It is almost impossible to have this many injuries happen again. So look, I hate to say this because it's been a large discussion on 49ers Twitter about, okay, downplaying the significance of injuries because of who it happened to.
Yeah.
But we still have to dissect this from a straight up team outlook.
Yep.
So
I was going over the silver lining with my dad. What are the silver linings from OTAs? This guy didn't get hurt. This guy didn't get hurt. This guy didn't get hurt. I mean, honestly.
D4, they're still fingers crossed that D4 is going to be fine. Jalen Hurts on track. Those were the things we were really looking for.
Right.
Justin School, look, I am hurting for Justin School and Tarvarius Moore. And I do not want to talk about this and be dismissive in any way, but Justin School was probably on the roster bubble.
That's true.
At this point. Because
it doesn't necessarily hurt the night. They didn't necessarily lose any games.
Right.
I think the Jeff Wilson Jr. injury hurts the most because you got to find 10 touchdowns. You got to find 10 touchdowns. And that's not necessarily something that Kittle's going to give you. So that hurts. The other two, I hurt for them, but it doesn't necessarily hurt the Niners deeply.
I'm hurt for T. Moore because he's in a contract year. And an Achilles injury for a guy who relies on so much speed can be death. I don't want it to be that, and I'm rooting for the kid to come back.
He's in a situation now where he has to sign a 1-year deal next year.
Absolutely.
Show that he's got it's terrible.
He has all the talent in the world. He just up here, he's got to figure it out. That's where he misses those coverage busts and things like that.
Yeah,
that's it. You know, so and look, science is different now. You know, when Richard Sherman tore his Achilles, he was older, but he's so smart that he was able to continue being productive.
Yeah.
With Tarvarius Moore, can he do that? He's not as smart as Richard Sherman, and that's easy to say because probably nobody's smarter than Richard Sherman as a member of the secondary.
Well, Sherman was always elite because he mastered the mental side of the game.
Absolutely.
Tarvarius Moore was a physical freak who was learning the mental side of the game. So they're like opposite ends of the spectrum at DBs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, I'm not trying to downplay any of these things because there was a large discussion on 49ers Twitter about, well, at least it wasn't this person, at least it wasn't this person. And that's fine.
It's a tough thing to say without context. Right. It's like, man, that's really insensitive. But I understand why you're thinking that way.
Yeah, I'm not here to discuss that or discuss where I land on that or anything like that. I'm just here to be objective, cold, clinical about where this roster stands from now. And yes, Justin School might not have made the roster, and Tarvarius Moore was depth. And the 49ers drafted a guy who could play free safety. They still have guys that, remember, when we were worried about the secondary, we weren't worried about safety. We were worried about cornerback. And it sucks because Tarvarius Moore, I feel like sometimes he could be that third safety that they have in the box that they did in the Super Bowl. He played a ton in the Super Bowl because they needed somebody to match all that speed. So he does create those sort of plays for the defense because he's able to match up. And again, he has the closing speed to come from single high looks and the breakaway speed to get back on those sort of things. Yeah. So it sucks to say, and I hate to sound like I'm being insensitive. I'm not. I'm hurting for both those guys, but they're just, those guys were depth pieces.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the best way I could put it.
Okay, so you're optimistic. I'm a little less so. Let me explain why I'm concerned. I mean, all the injuries that happened week 2 last year, that was a free. There's nothing you could do. I mean, some people blamed the surface. Maybe it's just bad luck. It was just one of those days. It's football. Things happen sometimes. So there's nothing you can do to prevent that stuff. But what you can prevent is the practice injuries, the training camp injuries. And I feel like that's kind of glossed over, but that's where the problem started last year. Debo hurting himself on his own. Richie James hurting himself on his own. Ben Garland going down like day 2 of camp. Ben Garland going down day 2 of camp was really the beginning of the end for this team because they lost week 1 primarily because Jimmy Garoppolo didn't seem to trust Francis Grasu. I mean, they had issues at center all season. So the fact that the injury issues are happening again outside of actual games, to me, is a bad sign because this has been a constant with Kyle. I don't know what it is, but he has trouble keeping his players healthy in practices.
If I have one more thing to pile on the negative side of the Justin School thing, and this is the thing that I loved about how they drafted, because they drafted linemen. And for me, it turned Daniel Brunskill into the best backup center in football. Now, I don't know if he's allowed to just take straight center reps at this point because he might be pressed into duty to jump into another spot. Again, that's the issue more than anything. That was the part that bothered me the most because you bring in Alex Mack, cool. Daniel Brunskill doesn't have to mess around with guard, tackle, other tackle. He can just take straight up center reps. And Daniel Brunskill, I feel like, is good enough once he gets all those reps to himself to be the best backup center in football. Now, you might have to take a look and say, hey, Ben Garland, what's up, big head? How you doing? Are you okay? Do you want to come back? You might have to do that at this point because if Alex Mack goes down and then Daniel Brunskill is put in a center and God forbid, one of these other linemen go down, now you're looking at problems that you had last year when Francis Grasu was starting a center, when Brunskill had to bounce from guard to center and around. You know how hard it is to move literally from one spot, being a center, to move to guard, then to move to tackle, or those are like 3. Those might as well be the difference between being a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a running back as far as responsibilities and what goes on, as far as offensive line goes. I was really excited with the idea that Daniel Brunskill was going to be the backup center. I don't think that that's possible now at this point. I think that they still have to keep him in that utility role. He's like the utility player on a baseball team. You play third, play short, in a pinch, play first. In football, you need reps consistently at one spot.
Okay, I just want to put a bow on this topic. I feel like if the Niners can reduce the injuries, we're not saying like eliminate them. It's football. Get down to the league average. Okay, and I think the way they can do that is they have to have some type of a plan for training camp to minimize injuries. Training camp and preseason. Because that's where you're in control. In games, you got to go balls out, pardon my French, and that's just the way it is. And if people get hurt, that's just the way it is. It's part of playing football. But if the Niners can minimize the practice injuries, they should be okay. If you really go through your mind and put together a list of all the players who've gotten hurt in practices, Shanahan became the head coach. It's a long list. I think that's a great place to start. Find a way to minimize those injuries, and you'll be closer to the league average right there. That's all I'm saying.
I don't want to be negative Nancy either. This isn't the last injury that you're going to see. I'm talking about not about camp either.
Nah.
Wait till the season starts. Wait till the bullets start flying. So, look,
hey, that's part of the game, man. That's part of the game. But Kyle, you're in control of tempo and intensity until then, and you need to know which players you can push, which players you can't, which days to go hard, which days to take it back. These are all the little boring things of being a head coach that matter. Every decision you make matters, and it seems like that freaking short dude down in LA is pretty good at those little schedule keeping things, man. You could do that. It's nothing. We can help you. Jason and I are offering our services.
He listened though. I told him no more practices.
See, there you go. He already took your advice. When is the next Two Bums in a Pod with Ryan Sakamoto? Man, that dude canceled on me twice in a row. I haven't heard him since. I love Ryan. Tell him to reach out. I love Ryan. What's up with that? He was like, man, I'm busy, and man, I got construction. Never heard from him again. Me and Ryan go back years, so I figure he'll hit me up eventually. But ball's in his court. Let him know. Come on, Ryan. Hit me up, bud. Dean's office says, did y'all see the offseason workout violation news? Yeah, man.
Haven't been able to get in depth and figure out exactly what happened. Until I get those details, I can't comment. But I know that they got fined, so we can comment on, hey, you messed up somehow.
Not good. I mean, I was thinking, okay, you overreacted to injuries. Okay, no, that wasn't that. You just broke a rule. All right, man. Well, fine.
On to a great start. Let's go, 2021.
Oh, man. It's almost like last year doing nothing was more successful than doing something. I mean, Cade Lombardi says it's alleged that the Lenore interception video is the reason the Niners are in trouble. Check Akash tweets.
You know why? Those videos that came out.
No bump and run. No bump.
Well, no, not that. Maybe it's that. But
you're not supposed to do bump and run. Oh, or one-on-ones.
But who's posting the video straight from the player film? So the only reason that I could recognize that was somebody's iPad from the team or somebody in the team building is because when I got Senior Bowl film, when we were there in Mobile, it looks the same. And it's those little buttons on the side of pause, rewind at certain speeds.
Dude, it's definitely the team film. I mean, it's up high, and I see those cameras at practice. I don't have that angle. It's definitely the team. So
that's someone in the building.
Put it out. Yep.
That's someone in the building on their iPad that posted that. So I don't know if it was because they posted team film that wasn't supposed to be out there and nobody was supposed to see, or if it was because of what you said with bump and run. I'm not going to speculate.
I don't think you're supposed to do bump and run coverage until training camp. Now that I remember, didn't Seattle get in trouble with that? I think Seattle got in trouble with that.
Yeah,
I think Seattle got in trouble with that a few years ago, doing too much bump and run, and they're like, fine. But until they got docked at fourth round picks, I'm like, I don't know. Good call. Thank you. Hold on. Someone else just donated $9. Maybe people are just going to tell us what happened. Oh, it's Brett.
What happened?
What was your biggest takeaway talking to Will Blackman, Croc, and Sowers about the injuries? What was your biggest takeaway listening to that? Did you hear it?
Yeah, I did. And it was great to hear from people who have played the game. And there was something to the idea of, and I forget who I was talking to about it. I talked to a few people that I asked questions about, hey, how is it with lifting? So if you have bad lifting form, let's say you're lifting and you're jerking in the wrong direction and things like that, and then you go to exert those muscles and you still have had that bad form, things can happen. Am I saying that that's what's happening? Obviously not, because I have no idea and I'm not there. And again, I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy in a room right now talking. So I don't know, but that was a lot of what I got from people that I respect. And I ask questions about like, hey, what can you talk me through some of these things? And sometimes those guys, they put too much on the weightlifting aspect. And those, like, the bodies aren't supposed to do box jumps. Your body's not supposed to be able to do those box jumps. And it doesn't make sense for you to do those things.
Right.
So am I saying that contributes? No, but it should be factored in when you start to talk about all these injuries. And that's sort of what I got from some of the people that I spoke to over the week talking about this and who I respect. And, even people who have played the game who told me that. So
I think it's a symptom of what's going on in college. Like the colleges have those kids come back after winter break and they right back in the weight room and they lift all year and they're kids. So I guess you can. Recovery isn't as important when you're 19, 20, 21. But when you've been lifting for 10 years and you're 25, it's starting to recovery is more and more important. And it seems like the Niners in particular are really good at the strength portion of strength and conditioning. I mean, look at Kittle, look at Warner. How many players have they pumped up like a balloon into just freaking behemoths? They're great at that. But then they also have this injury issue every year. So maybe they're a little overemphasized on bigger, stronger, faster, and they need to incorporate more, hey guys, really don't lift in January. Don't lift that much in February. Like recover, especially if you're 27, 28. Get your body back because you're going to be grinding for 9 months. And you're going to wear
Kittle was on Mike Silver's podcast, I believe, and he was talking about Ebukam and how strong Ebukam is. Yeah. Now, was that because Ebukam was strong coming out of the Rams, or because when he got in the building, they started to pump that? So that's a good way to look at that as well, too. That's something to throw in.
He always looks strong on film. He's a strong dude. And I know Robert Saleh always loved him. He loved him before he knew his name was. He's like, that guy, that number 50, whatever he is on the ring, is good. Ebukam, he's good. I was like, oh, never heard of him either. Yeah, okay, if you say so, Robert. Yeah, no.
I'm just glad
he's strong. But yeah, he's about 26. You'd hate to. I mean, that's about the age where your body starts to go if you don't give it a break. You need to give it a break, basically. And I know people say, well, Jerry Rice worked out all the time. Was he grinding in the weight room all the time? Was he running? What was he conditioning? Was he strength training? What was he doing?
Also, stop comparing a guy who played into his 40s, 43. That's not the rule.
Yeah.
What if Jerry Rice is the exception? Wait a minute. He's not. He is the exception. He is the absolute exception. He was always
pretty slim, too. He wasn't super muscled up compared to, I mean, like DK Metcalf, for example. I don't think he's going to have longevity. There's something. Another thing Will Blackman said that was so interesting was if a lot of these football players who have bodies like bodybuilders are the ones who are injury prone. And that was always my thing with Nick Bosa. That was always my thing with Nick Bosa is like, dude, you look like Mr. Universe. But what Will said is like, it kind of, to be that cut up, you almost have to be a little dehydrated. It's like you're not really you're more prone to injury. Straight up. Well, it looks good, but it's not as functional.
With body fat as well, too, there's a certain amount where you can't go under that. I understand that there's a way to be healthy, but when you go under that, yeah.
That was always my fear with Nick Bosa. It's like, man, you're 270 with 4% body fat. You're totally maxed out. You look great. You win all the bodybuilding competitions, man. But what is your durability going to be playing football? And I'm not saying I'm right. He's 23 still. We'll see. But that's my question with DK, too. Look at DK. I mean, come on, dude. That is so over the top. And he's had issues before. I'm curious to see what's he going to be like when he's 28. How many games is he going to play when he's 29? We'll see.
Let's see.
It's good now, though.
See.
It's good freaking good now, though. Brett says, what's up, Brett? Oh, wait, that was Brett again. Good to see you, Brett. All right, hold on. We got more. Why is Kyle Shanahan so freaking high on Jimmy Garoppolo all of a sudden? Now he's got all this praise, or was it silly praise? Best spring he's ever seen, ever had.
Tinfoil hat. Ready?
I love this. Give me the tinfoil hat.
Okay. He understands that Jimmy Garoppolo affords him more time. You know why?
Why?
Because if Jimmy Garoppolo plays well, he gets more time to chill on Trey Lance.
Yep.
Remember, he has to develop Trey Lance. This is his shot. This is his guy. This one better work. So if Jimmy Garoppolo puts that off another year, okay.
Great.
I'm with that. Also,
great.
Got to make sure the trade value looks good.
That's true.
Got to make sure that it sounds good, because eventually there has to be a decision that's going to be made with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not going to be the franchise quarterback. Sorry, nobody. That's not even an opinion. He's not going to be here if he's here for 2 years, I'd be surprised, but he's not going to be here longer than 2 years. No way. No chance in hell. You didn't do all that to keep him here for 2 years. But Kyle likes the idea of being able to have his rookie. And again, if Jimmy Garoppolo goes out there and he doesn't get it done,
yeah, that
was Jimmy. Wasn't me. That's not my guy. True. My guy's almost ready. And when I get him ready, then you could. So I think he likes the time that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to afford him this year, as far as not having to make that move right away to Trey and being under the microscope right away, because you have to make Trey work. You moved up all that time there. You got your guy. This one has to work for Kyle Shanahan.
I just think it's so funny how he changed his tone, because when he used to be asked about Jimmy Garoppolo, he just couldn't give him a straight compliment. It would always be qualified with, he's doing really well for a guy who's not experienced, or he's improving, or he's learning. It's like always talking about him like he's 23 years old. Now it's like, he's really looking really good. I just want to say, he looks really good. And I think what you said is true. He suits Kyle Shanahan. He's definitely gives him an extended timeline. He's a trade chip, but also I feel like Kyle, more tinfoil hat. This is me from the more negative perspective. I feel like Kyle's starting to feel the restlessness of the fans. I think he was surprised at how they overruled Mac Jones. I mean, maybe he didn't even want Mac Jones, but just to see how fans were like, hey, if Kyle picks Mac Jones, I'm out. I don't trust him.
Or you're on the clock immediately.
Oh, you're on the clock. You're out. I don't think he ever thought the fans would look at him like that. He's like, really, me? You're questioning me? And then I think he's starting to feel fans' restlessness about the injuries. Again, his attitude yesterday was like, you guys are really questioning me? And I think he realizes that if he has another season like last year where there's injuries and they don't have a winning record, I don't think his fan base is going to be as sympathetic as it used to be. And if the fans aren't sympathetic, you never know how the front office is going to be. I mean, Jed is a Niner fan too. I mean, how's he going to react to a 6-11 season? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think Kyle understands that he kind of needs to produce this year, and Jimmy gives him the best chance. So I love Jimmy all of a sudden. Jimmy's my best friend.
He knows that, and he definitely knows that. But here's the part that I'll push back with the Jed thing. I think the parents aren't going to let them move from Kyle. I think it's the parents that really love Kyle. I love Jed.
Can I tell you a secret? Cool. Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
Just between me and you. Just between me and you. Everyone.
Between me and you. Yeah, get off.
Yeah. It was the mom that made him fire Trent Baalke. What I heard, these are rumors. He was just going to fire Chip because he loves Trent. And the mom was like, no.
Can we dispel some stuff real quick about Trent?
That's a rumor. Okay, earmuffs done. Sorry.
Can we dispel a real quick narrative? Yes, so many missed draft picks. Cool. Drafted Buckner, drafted Ward, drafted Tart. Those are ones and all pro, 2 starters on your team.
True.
So, yes.
Now, I want to also say I believe that this injury thing is 8 years in the making, and I think it started with Trent. I think his philosophy of trying to cut corners in the draft and go get those kind of players, you were still seeing the effects. But that's not to say he was the executive of the year one year. He's had some big hits on his resume. Big ones.
Yeah. And the other thing is that Kyle's doing the same thing as well. Jerick McKinnon. This guy.
He just does it in free agency. He just does it in free agency.
He brings in guys that, if healthy, Tony Jefferson. If healthy.
Which makes me feel like it's something that Jed York and Parag have signed off on. Like, hey, this is what we do here. We take these risks because we're in California and there's really high taxes and the real estate's high and we can't attract the top of the top in free agency. So we got to get guys like Quan Alexander and D Ford.
At the same time, that Jason Verrett one, it looks genius now. Even if that first year it didn't pan out, it looks
they hit
genius.
1 in 20 times, but it does.
Right.
It does.
See, but that's the thing. That philosophy. So there's a joke. How many times do you have to say if healthy? It's basically for almost every single player on this roster at this point.
See, what happened was they hit on Frank Gore, and then they've been chasing that one, and now they hit on Jason Verrett. Oh, man, every time that's leads to 15 more years of trying to – it works. Oh, hold on. Double B Studio. What's up, Double B Studio? Says, congrats on growing your YouTube channel. I get most of my news and updates from you. The Niners channel and app are days slow. I don't understand why more news outlets haven't figured it out, man. I mean, this is the future. I don't get it, man. They're so committed to print. I was talking to my brother yesterday. I was like, "Do you?"
No. Don't tell them. Let them do their thing and let us do our thing.
Keep the paywall. Don't do YouTube. My God. Kate, what's up? If you guys had to cover one of the team in the Niners, what team and why? I love this question, man.
This is a great question. You want to go first?
No, you go first.
All right, I know what team.
Oh, okay. I know which one too. No, you go. Do
you?
I know. You go first.
Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, I like. Why?
Because the Buffalo Bills have never really done anything. They're a very interesting franchise. Their fan base is maniacal, and now they're actually on the cusp of doing something really big. They have a lot of players that are some of my favorite players in the league. I love Stephon Diggs. He's one of my favorite receivers in the league. If he's not the top, well, Julio Jones is, but he's at the top of it. I love Tre'Davious White. Josh Allen has done. I'm so fascinated with their process because they brought in Josh Allen, who was an absolute project. Absolute project, right? Yeah. Everybody from Wyoming, I don't know about him. Sean McDermott's a defensive guy. So does that make sense to pair him with that? And now in his 3rd year, he really took that leap where people started talking about it as an MVP. They had John Brown for a lot. It's really more them. They had been to so many Super Bowls. Now their team is actually in a spot where they can take down the Chiefs if things go their way. Daboll's a great offensive coordinator. They're a fascinating team to me. I would love to cover the Bills because they're a fun team. And 2, they've got some really, really fun players, and their culture is moving in the right direction.
That's a good answer. I'm going to answer it in a different way, more from a different perspective, like fun covering a team. You know, which team would I like to troll the way that I troll the 49ers?
Seattle.
Now, Seattle's cool, but I want a lot of hits, man. One of the things I like about covering the Niners is they're a global brand. So we got people in here from all over the world.
Oh, don't say it. Don't say it.
So I'm thinking Seattle's cool, and they do have a big following. They're a good one. They're up there. Also, Dallas. Dallas is the big one, but their media market's kind of oversaturated. I mean, there's 1,000 me's covering Dallas. So I'm thinking New England, man. Because the thing about them, Bill Belichick is the kind of person I would just really love to go.
And you would get to ask him questions, and he would get to see your clips.
And also, I think that the beat core out there is very much in with the team. I mean, they've won all these championships. They kind of all worship them, and I'd love to be the one dude in there. It's like, I'm not impressed.
So make sure here's a tip. If God forbid that ever happens, because I don't want to see you leave this fan base.
No,
and I would love to.
I don't want to live in Boston. It's Foxborough, by the way.
Yeah. If you went over there, just make sure you remember to criticize Cam Newton about every single thing that he ever does, including breathing and including living. That's what I noticed about Boston sports media.
No, I would go against the grain. I'd have Cam's back and go over Belichick. I would be there to go at Belichick. To me, you're a freaking fraud. You're a defensive coordinator who was skating on Tom Brady's leadership for 20 years. You took all the credit, underpaid him, pushed him out the door because you believed your own BS, and now you're going to put Bruce Arians in the Hall of Fame and make everyone question what your contributions were. I wish I could be there.
I wish that you could have discussions with Bill Belichick because his answers would be electric. One more thing that I want to say: cannot wait for Kendrick Bourne to score a touchdown, do a dance, and have the Boston sports media rip him apart for even having an ounce of fun and scoring a game-winning touchdown or something like that.
What is this young man doing on our field? This is not how we act in Foxborough.
That's not the Patriot way.
I like that. Did you guys know that Foxborough is closer to freaking Providence, Rhode Island than Boston is? Way out there, dude. It's way out. It's in the boonies. Anyway, it's like football boot camp, really. It's not fun. Bill Belichick is such a fraud to me. His whole reputation is Tom Brady was the head coach of that team. He's the head coach in Tampa. And Belichick's a hell of a coordinator, but he has no people skills, man. Let's see what he does without Tom. Zero people skills.
Can I push back real quick?
Please.
I know that the Patriots didn't do well last year.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me with all the opt-outs and how Cam played last year and how that team how in God's name did they win 7 games? How? Explain it to me. That's just culture. That's just straight up buying in. And I have a feeling that you haven't heard the last of them. They're going to make noise and try to make a playoff run this year. I can tell.
I'm fading Hall.
Hey, if Cam's starting, I'm all in.
I bet you a nickel that they're not going to make the playoffs. A nickel, straight up nickel, baby. Hey, when you come out to the Bay? Because every time you come out, I'm not here.
I'll be there for camp. So the 27th, when the team organizes, I'll be out there and we'll link then. And then the first day of camp is the 31st. So I'm probably going to be out there for like a good week and a half. So we'll see each other.
Yeah, assuming they don't cancel it, but they probably won't.
Assuming they don't cancel it. Even if they cancel it, I'm going. I don't care. I'm still going to just book and go.
All right, it's 2:00. We need to stop and figure out why the Niners got penalized. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for trying to educate us midstream. I thought we did the best we could. But no, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, everyone. I'll be back on Twitch in about an hour, hopefully more educated about what went down. See you guys.